debris in the air. We pray and plead with you, please get down now. If you're I-35, get out of your car. If you're east of I-35 over to particular Air Force Base, please, we plead with you, go to your safe spot now. Take your radio, forget the live pictures, go get safe. Oh my gosh. Folks, we plead with you, just go to your safe spot if you possibly can. That's an F. Look at the horizontal vortex. That is an F4 to an F5 tornado. That's winds of 250 miles an hour.
May 3rd, 1999. A day that lives on in the memory of so many people. A day that changed thousands of lives and families. A day that garnished a tornado with the highest wind speeds ever recorded. A record that has not been broken since that fateful day. The day of the Bridge Creek Moor tornado. As the sun rose on May 3rd, 1999, skies were generally cloudy with a low deck of stratus clouds. Dew points were in the mid to low 60s, so it was quite humid, with temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. The Storm Prediction Center was closely monitoring the threat of severe weather, along with the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Norman, Oklahoma. In their early morning outlook, the Storm Prediction Center had originally posted a slight risk for most of Kansas, Oklahoma, and northern Texas. There was a general consensus that there was going to be severe weather over the southern plains and possibly supercells, but the problem was exactly where those storms would be located. As the day progressed, it would be clearer where these storms were going to be and just how bad they could potentially get. Furthermore, through the morning hours, forecasters grew more concerned and more certain of a significant severe weather outbreak. In a new outlook at approximately 11:15 a.m. Central Daylight Time, the risk of severe weather was upgraded to moderate, but it did not stop there. Further data collected showed that the atmosphere above the plains was growing more unstable from the midday heating and low-level moisture, and a weather balloon launched around 1 p.m. indicated wind profiles that were highly conducive for tornado development, speeding up with height and changing direction with height. Accordingly, at 3:49 p.m., the risk of severe weather was then upgraded to a high risk. Cumulus towers had developed but quickly dissipated between 3 and 3:15 p.m. However, renewed cumulus development occurred between 3:30 and 4 over southwest Oklahoma. A few of these storms developed into significant supercells by 5 o'clock before moving east into the Oklahoma City metro. The first of many severe thunderstorm warnings was issued at 4:15, the first tornado warning at 4:47, and at 4:51, the first report of a tornado by a spotter. It was now a main concern that tornadic supercells were going to impact the Oklahoma City metro, putting many lives at risk. There were many supercells this day, one of which identified as Supercell A. This storm had a monster brewing in it. It was long-tracked and began around 3:30 p.m. It produced 14 tornadoes over a period of 3.5 hours. Of these 14 tornadoes, 5 were considered strong or violent, meaning F2 or higher. However, the 9th tornado this supercell produced is perhaps the most famous and recognized tornado in U.S. history. And if I haven't already mentioned it, it is the tornado that holds the record for the highest wind speeds recorded on the planet. The tornado developed about 2 miles south-southwest of Amber and quickly intensified as it moved northeast. It metaphorically hit the ground running, as F4 damage was first identified about 4 miles east-northeast of Amber and continued for 6.5 miles. As the twister continued into Bridge Creek, 2 areas were observed to have F5 damage. These observations in Willow Lake Addition entailed 2 homes completely swept of their foundation, and about a dozen vehicles carried a quarter mile. Any mobile homes in this area were completely obliterated, which unfortunately resulted in a high concentration of fatalities. Along with this, asphalt about an inch thick was peeled from a county road. The other area had a clean swept slab home with foundation anchor bolts. At this point in time, the maximum width of damage was estimated to be about a mile wide, and near Bridge Creek was where the highest wind speeds ever recorded were attained, at 301 miles per hour, give or take 20. The National Weather Service attributes 318 miles per hour, but the Doppler on wheels that recorded the wind speeds was measuring wind approximately 100 feet in the air, so the plus or minus 20 is the margin of error. The margin of error causes controversy, though, over whether or not it should be classified as an F6. Staying true to the margin of error would put the maximum wind speeds at 321, which would technically be classified as a low-end F6. The National Weather Service has stated, though, that it will not be reclassified, but it is definitely interesting and some food for thought that this could have been the only tornado to ever be classified as an F6. The tornado continued moving directly northeast, maintaining an almost parallel path to Interstate 44 as it entered McLean County. While the path stayed almost parallel, the only time it veered off was when it made a slight move to the right and made a direct pass over an overpass where, unfortunately, a woman that was seeking shelter was killed. The tornado kept on its path, moving through rural sections of Newcastle. It maintained an F4 status through northwest Newcastle until damage slightly diminished to F2 intensity as the tornado crossed the Canadian River into northern Cleveland County. Here the tornado quickly became rain-wrapped. This F2 status would not last long, though, as many areas of damage coming up in the path were considered to be high F4, low F5. The first major housing development to be struck by this tornado was Country Place Estates, where about 50 homes were damaged, and about a dozen of these homes received F4 damage. One home was swept completely of its foundation, along with several vehicles being tossed around and ending up a quarter mile away. This area of damage was considered high F4, low F5. The tornado then tracked through East Lake Estates, where entire rows of homes were flattened to piles of rubble, and 4 adjacent homes were each completely swept of their foundation, earning another F5 rating. Most damage remained at F4 throughout the area, but one 2-story apartment complex was virtually flattened, earning yet another F5 rating. The twister then struck Westmore High School, which was heavily damaged, and also where a heavily attended award ceremony was being held. Fortunately, nobody attending the ceremony was injured, but dozens of vehicles were heavily damaged or destroyed. It was now obvious that the tornado was about to enter into the most densely populated area in the state of Oklahoma, the Oklahoma City Metro. It was also obvious from radar and live news coverage that this twister was a monster, and it needed to be put into perspective to anybody listening or viewing. This was when the first ever tornado emergency was issued, a warning that had never been used before and only used in rare situations where there is a deadly, extremely violent tornado on the ground. The warning was drafted by National Weather Service meteorologist David Andra, stating, "The National Weather Service needed to paint the picture that a rare and deadly tornado was imminent in the metro area." It soon continued into more, producing a damage path half a mile to 3/4 of a mile wide at times, and was not showing signs of weakening. Maximum damage rated high-end F4, low-end F5 was reported throughout Moore and extended through Janeway, with several large groups of homes being decimated and flattened. 4 people perished in this area, and another woman was killed when seeking shelter under an overpass. After crossing Interstate 35, it appeared the monster had weakened just slightly, but was not even close to over. The tornado then proceeded through the southern section of a sparsely populated industrial district rated at an F4 until it turned north and destroyed 2 businesses, killing 2 people at a trucking company. It was here that a freight car weighing 18 tons was picked up and thrown across a field just under a mile. Gouge marks in the field were observed every 50 to 100 yards, indicating the freight car was airborne for at least a short distance. The tornado was now weakening more, but still only slightly. It moved through densely populated Del Air housing addition, killing 6 people and damaging or destroying hundreds of homes, all rated at F3, F4. It then damaged several structures at the Tinker Air Force Base. As it got near the end of its life, the tornado strengthened one last time when it went through Midwest City, where it went through a large business district and damaged approximately 800 vehicles. Hundreds of vehicles were moved from their original location, and many dozens of vehicles were picked up and tossed northwards, some being launched into several motels. Damage was mostly rated F4 through this area, however, low F5 was considered. The tornado then struck another residential area at high F4 status, killing 3 more people before finally beginning to dissipate. Damage diminished very quickly, and the tornado then dissipated 3 blocks north of Reno Avenue. The Bridge Creek Moore tornado was on the ground for 85 minutes and traveled about 38 miles. The Oklahoma State Department of Health in Oklahoma City recorded 36 direct fatalities from the tornado, with injuries around 583. An estimated 1,800 homes were destroyed and around 2,500 homes were damaged, resulting in approximately $1 billion worth of damage. Yes, that's billion with a B. This tornado is considered to be one of the worst of all time, considering the amount of damage it caused and the fact that it was the highest recorded wind speeds on Earth. Looking back, this tornado was significant in more ways than just its damage and power. It caused experts to rethink the action of seeking shelter under an overpass. You may have noticed that I took the time to mention both women killed under an overpass, and this was to put more emphasis on why you should not seek shelter here during a tornado. The fact of the matter is, as you travel up the side of an overpass, winds typically get stronger the higher they are. Along with this is the fact that the overpass gets more narrow near the top, acting almost as a wind tunnel for the winds of the tornado. This means that the wind will speed through here even faster than it would outside the overpass. And I just want to take the time to mention this because it is a common misconception when at risk of being struck by a tornado. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I know this was probably a little bit grim and upsetting to some people, but this tornado happened just about 25 years ago. I don't know when I'll be posting this video. It may be sometime in April, but on May 3rd, 2024, it's going to be 25 years since this tornado happened, and this tornado was so significant. This whole event was so significant in the fact that it changed many people's perspectives on just how powerful weather can be and how powerful these tornadoes can be. You know, not a lot of structures can hold up against over 300-mile-an-hour winds. And it's cool in a way to look back and see how much we learned just from this single event. And it's also tragic that we lost so many people that day and that it caused so much damage. And I just want to say I'm sorry for anybody who may have been affected by this tornado. This whole event, I should say. But I just want to say to the viewer, thank you for watching. Please leave a like, leave a comment. Consider subscribing if you like this type of stuff. The videos should get more happy, but I do like covering events like this. I covered Hurricane Ian, and I worked very hard on that video. I'm working very hard on this video. I'm hoping to get a lot more videos up, but I just want to say thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed, please come back. I will be working a lot more on this channel. Thanks, guys. This is Chevy, signing off.